Okay, here's our new learning target. So I brought home with me one of the dry erase boards from school, so I'm going to pretend this is our big whiteboard up front. So new unit learning target. So our first unit learning target is with equivalent fractions. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at fractions that have tens and hundreds in their denominators to make tenths and hundreds. I feel like I want a pencil so I can point here. So tenths and hundreds, and we're going to be using what we know about place value to help us with that too. So that's our learning target number 1 with our new unit. Learning target number 2 is we're going to work on what's called decimal notation for tenths and hundreds. So we're going to be taking fractions that have a 10 and a 100 in the denominator, and we're going to be changing them into decimals for tenths and hundreds. So again, we're going to have lots of opportunities to think about place value and how that's going to work for this new unit. And then our third thing we're going to do in this new unit is we're going to take those decimals that we create from those fractions with tens and hundreds and also other different decimals, and we're going to compare them, find out which ones are bigger, which ones are smaller, which ones would fit into a certain range on a number line. So there's lots of things we're going to be doing as we compare decimals. So we're going to start where we left off with fractions. So we're going to be looking at equivalent fractions with 10 and 100 in the denominators to make tenths and hundreds. We're going to then change those fractions into decimals for tenths and hundreds and what those look like. And we're going to use a lot of visual models to help you guys with that. And then our last learning target for the new unit is to compare those decimals. Okay, so our learning target for today then is, if we look at our lesson for our focus for today, is to express a fraction with 10 in the denominator as an equivalent fraction with 100 in the denominator. So we're going to get a fraction like 5/10. We're going to figure out through our lessons today and tomorrow, what does that fraction look like with 100 in the denominator? How are those two fractions related? And once we figure out how to do that, that's going to allow us to start to add fractions that don't have the same denominator. What? You said that Mr. S told us we never add a fraction that doesn't have the same denominator. And that's right, we do not. But once we figure out the skill, we're going to have to figure out, how can I have a fraction like 3/10 and add that to a fraction of like 5/100? Different denominators, but it is doable. So once we get through these first couple of days with this unit, you guys are going to find out how to do that. So I'm going to click off on this and get that queued up so you guys not only have my little introduction, but you also have our learning targets for today. And the next video is going to be about the lesson itself.